Welcome into Training Camp Live. Casey Phillips here with our special guest, TJ Rives. And man, we have more things for you today. We got live shots of practice, so many different topics to get to, and your Facebook questions. We know that yesterday Facebook was having some streaming issues, so we didn't get to very many of those. So if you submitted a question yesterday, resubmit it today. And of course, everyone that has joined us today, do the same in the comment section underneath our Facebook Live video. So before we get into some of these topics here with camp, we got to talk about the Hall of Fame stuff, right? This is so exciting, so incredible. John Lynch, tell me your thoughts on him getting in the Hall and what this experience was like to watch as a Buccaneer fan.
Well, good morning. And first of all, I did not break Facebook yesterday. Let's hope that everything comes rolling in today. We're looking forward to that. And yeah, anytime you can talk about John Lynch, what a fantastic ambassador for this franchise on the field, off the field, and to see him honored in Canton, Ohio, really this whole weekend. They put the gold jacket on him last night for the first time, the induction speech tonight. And as somebody that covered him from when he got here as a rookie in 1993, going through training camp at the old University of Tampa downtown, along with Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks, going through those two-a-days back then, and now all three of those guys in the Hall of Fame, along with Coach Tony Dungy. It's really neat. It's neat to look on that, and again, they'll have the ceremony on the NFL Network and a couple of other places online tonight to see him accept that, but it's thrilling. I know the Glazers are thrilled. I think Buccaneer fans, by the tens of thousands, if not the hundreds of thousands, still remember John fondly. So this is a neat time for sure.
Absolutely, and such a great guy. Just could not happen to a nicer guy as well. And so, all right, let's get into our Ticketmaster play of the day. Here's one of our highlights from camp yesterday. There we go. Look at that beautiful pass right in the end zone, a little toe tap to the rookie, Jalen Darden, a guy that I know Scott has talked about. He's very excited to see what he could bring, and just someone that I feel like is exciting from a return standpoint. That we talk about the wide receivers all the time, but what have you seen in terms of the return game in recent years and where that could potentially grow and improve?
Well, and that is an area where Darden has returned kicks, and he will be competing. And again, you see the guy in the background, Jaden Mickens. That's a camp battle. There's no doubt. And we touched on this yesterday with Tyler Johnson, with Scotty Miller, with Darden, with Mickens, kind of similar size. Who fits in, who can return kicks, who can go on the practice squad, which is another thing that we were talking about if need be. But if Darden keeps making plays like what you saw there with the toe tap in the corner of the end zone, he may get a chance, obviously, to be as a wide receiver in the rotation for this team. And you see Scotty Miller there in the foreground. I mean, the competition is on here for that third and fourth wide receiver spot and playing time between these guys.
And then I know that we talked a lot about the offense yesterday, so we wanted to get a little bit more into the defense today, which is perfect considering, we were just talking about the John Lynch Hall of Fame. Let's talk about maybe some of these DBs, and what have you learned about this Todd Bowles defense, what they ask of your corners, your safeties, how he sets them up for success, just how some of those guys could have some success this year as well.
You understand that it's a work in progress. It was a work in progress, and I know that Coach Bruce Arians was saying this yesterday after the practice, that those guys were getting maligned. You were saying yesterday they were ranked, 32nd going into the season, not giving any attention. Well, the head coach was saying, hey, there was a real learning curve because there wasn't really an off season last year where you could meet as much and do as much stuff, much less preseason games to get acclimated. And I think it took some time for them to get more familiar with the defense. And clearly, as Todd Bowles has said, once November became December and once December became January, they could do the things they wanted to do with coverage because they understood it better. That's the same thing that you're progressing towards earlier this season with a full training camp, with a full preseason, that they're ready September, October to do a lot of those things. So, yeah, for those DBs, you've got a mix of young guys. You've got a veteran like Ross Cockrell that's trying to fit in. He had a big training camp practice earlier this week as well. So I'm anxious to see that competition because, again, you can't keep everybody, as we've been talking about. You don't have enough spots to keep everybody.
And, it's been interesting to watch, especially even, the nickel position and what Sean Murphy-Bunting gets asked to do. And, of course, we always think about how Rondé Barber so revolutionized so much about this Tampa defense back then that I do feel like has seemed to permeate and continue through all the way until now in the way that this defense works no matter who has come in. And, I was thinking that as we talked about the idea of, John Lynch getting inducted, I know you have been here long enough to also think back to Rondé Barber, and that is a guy that I know all of us believe deserves to be in the Hall as well. So for you, what would be your argument as to why he deserves to be the next Buccaneer that we're seeing in that gold jacket?
Well, and he basically came through the hard way, didn't play a lot his rookie year. There was some question as to whether he was going to stick with this team, but he understood the position and what it took with film study and dedication, and that's what rubs off on players inspirationally. He learned that from Derek Brooks being here at 6 o'clock in the morning with Brooks back in the late 90s and the early 2000s. Who else is going to be here for extra film study? And Barber, again, with the resume, when you talk about one guy in the history of the NFL that has at least 40 sacks or at least 40 interceptions and at least 20 sacks, and he's the only guy with 45 and 25, I believe, of both of those. How many big games did Barber play in and play well in, including in the Super Bowl season? And I was on with a local radio show yesterday, and we were talking about, look at the number of non-offensive touchdowns that Rondé Barber scored. He's still like in the top 5
incredible
all-time in the NFL on fumble return, interception return, not a kick returner with the touchdown. So the resume is definitely there. But he's a guy that can be an inspiration to other defensive backs here, that you can get better year 2, year 3, through film study, through hard work. I still remember a story. This goes back to Tony Dungy's days, late 90s, early 2000s, where they had a practice in which they were putting in something new for the offense. And Rondé was basically running the route with the receiver, Casey. And Tony Dungy stopped the practice and for just a second and said, Rondé, you can't run the route with him. We know you know the route. We're trying to work on this.
Yes.
You can't run the route. But it's his instinctive thing. I'm going to run a route with him. I'm going to pick the pass off.
Yes, I love that.
That's Rondé Barber.
That's amazing. All right, we are going to show you some highlights from yesterday's practice, and then we're going to come back here with more live look-ins to practice, more big topics to get to. So we'll be right back.
Who has the best celebration? Me and Levante, when we do to get that out of here. Do it. Let's see out there. Hands down, you already know. Who's this? Who got the best celebration? Not Joe! Yes, sir. Look at ooh.
Y'all be patient. My celebration gonna be off the charts.
Welcome back into Training Camp Live. Casey Phillips here with TJ Rives, and we are going to be getting to your Facebook questions in our final segment here. So leave those underneath our live video if you have those for us. For now, you know, we've been talking a little bit about defense, and I think we're going to now get into some of the defensive line and outside linebackers.
First of all, did I see you driving Rob Gronkowski in a golf cart?
I did, and, you know, I'm thankful that now we're able to show that clip because nothing bad happened. I didn't, you know, destroy our future Hall of Fame tight end. I will say that was the most nervous to drive I've ever been in my life.
You
and
were officially his chauffeur.
I was, and
but
yeah.
this is something that we could not have a year ago.
It's so true.
It's neat that we get to be back around that. And I just wanted you to know that I spied you driving.
Thank you.
Gronk.
I appreciate
Continue
that.
on.
Yes, that is exactly what happened. And we had just finished a great interview that we did over in the Endurance. We were shuttling him back to be able to get him to where he needed to be, and he is absolutely just a delight to interview. He is everything that he seems like he is whenever people have seen him on camera, even when the cameras aren't rolling. Such a nice guy, so much personality all the time, just enjoys life, enjoys football.
And before you get to the defense, that shot in the background is what training camp is all about. Look at the little guys and gals, Brady jersey on, Buccaneers shirts and hats on, and they're right up close and personal. There's Tom Brady, there's Ronald Jones, there's Rob Gronkowski. I still remember being a much younger TJ, Casey Phillips, longer ago than I want to admit, being around training camp at the old University of Tampa. But it's just neat to see this here on a Saturday. That's
I completely agree. After not getting to have fans for it is great to be able to have some back. We wish it could be more. We hope that we are back to true normal next year, absolutely, so that we can have as many people in here as possible. So, all right, let's talk about the outside linebackers. We know that Joe Tryon, we finally got to see him in pads a few times at practice, but I know the preseason games will be when we really want to see what some of his true moves are going to look like. But looking at him, looking at the guys you've brought back, some of these other young guys, what do you feel like that outside linebacker rotation could look like? And do you think that it is a group that could produce as well as we saw them do last year, particularly in that Super Bowl, getting after Patrick Mahomes?
Boy, if they do, look out. It begins with Shaq Barrett and JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul, who again, is running around here like he's a 25-year-old, again, at training camp. I mean, I don't think we can oversell. Let's just talk about him for 1 second. We can't oversell that he overcame a fractured neck to return to the NFL a couple of seasons ago when a lot of people were saying career-threatening injury. And now it's like it's an afterthought. It's a footnote on, oh, yeah, he had a fractured neck a couple of years ago, and to play at such a high level. So he's back out here and at it. It begins with those two, with Shaq Barrett on one side, JPP on the other. We talked about Joe Tryon yesterday. Anthony Nelson is a guy. Is he now going to blossom into the role of outside linebacker, pass rusher? We'll see if that is the case. And you've got some other young players. And again, these preseason games starting 1 week from tonight, by the way, Buccaneer fans, were the first preseason game. Second quarter, second half, who gets the reps? The coaching staff will give us a little indication of who they really want to take a strong look at in terms of all positions, but particularly outside linebacker, pass rusher. Who's playing in the second quarter? Who's playing in the third quarter? That means they want to take a strong look at those guys in preseason game number 1.
Yeah, Cam Gill's going to be a guy that I'm interested to watch because he is one of the only undrafted guys that made the team last year, which shows how highly they think of him. When there wasn't an off season, that's who we all thought was going to suffer the most in some ways last year.
Because there were no preseason games.
There was nothing.
He did it in these practices like what you're saying.
He showed them enough that they said, this is a guy we want to take a chance on when you already had such a stacked roster, to say this is a guy that we see enough promise in that even though he wasn't drafted in this limited amount of time with almost no off season, we still think highly enough of him. And then we saw him get in some games, and especially special teams. That's where preseason, to me, special teams is hardly typically what fans are tuned into the most. It's hardly what people would say is the most exciting part of the game, but that is where these roster spots are going to be won and lost. And particularly this year when we don't have the starting battles the way we have, that's your battles to watch, is who's making the splash plays. When you did lose a Ryan Smith and even Justin Watson is hurt, those are some of your guys that have made some big plays on special teams that we're going to need to look to replace potentially.
And we're watching that right now with these guys going over punt return. I believe that's punt return, it looks like. That a lot of times that is how you make the team. Exactly what you said, because you are somebody they can count on for kickoff or kickoff return or punt return. And that's going to end up being a dozen plays a game sometimes. You hope you don't punt it that much, but you're having it punted
you hope
to
it's kickoff.
You hope it's kickoff return. You hope it's punt return. And so if you're a guy that can contribute on those 10 or 12 plays and contribute well, that's something that obviously is going to stand out to the coaches. I mean, Ryan Smith is a guy that made this team over and over again on his ability on kickoff coverage and punt return to go down and make plays, as well as depth at defensive back. So interesting that we're seeing Scotty Miller fielding some punts. We know about Jaden Mickens, and there's a couple of other receivers. Tyler Johnson has fielded punts before. That's going to be part of the competition battle, and who's out there in the preseason games. But you're right. For a lot of these defensive players, the way to stay on the roster is through special teams.
Absolutely. And then let's talk about that defensive line, those interior spots. Tell me what you saw about especially the impact of Vita Vea, that we missed him for so much of the season. And then he comes back, which was just a miracle. I felt like that he was able to make those returns. What did that show you about what he means to this defense? Because sometimes those interior guys, they get overlooked. We don't always, we're paying attention to the outside guys and don't always pay attention to the dirty work going on the inside.
Well, and you're right. You cannot overstate how much he meant with the push up the middle, taking on a double team, a triple team. You missed that. October injury, November, December, you didn't have it. And it was, again, amazing that he was able to rehab, rest, heal that fractured leg, and be healthy enough to play late in the year. And anybody that does not believe that made a huge difference in the Kansas City Super Bowl win when he wasn't there in the game in November at getting the push up the middle, freeing up outside rusher Shaq Barrett, JPP, you don't know football. You don't understand that it's something that maybe didn't show up in a stat sheet, but good Lord, the Chiefs knew. This is a different defensive line with that guy there. And I want to talk about another guy that has hung around, and good for him through a lot of losing to have the season like last year happen, and that's Will Golston. And he has showed versatility. Again, we list all of the defensive linemen, and we don't list him until like 5th or 6th, but he played 50, 60, 70 plays over and over again. Number 92 right there, Buccaneer fans. Versatile enough to play outside, put on weight last year to play inside, because that's what Todd Bowles and Casey Rogers were asking him to do. Give it up for that guy, and he finally got rewarded with a playoff season and a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's so true. He has played through so many different defensive schemes, and he's played so many different roles and has had success with all of them. I think the second longest tenured Buccaneer behind Levante David.
How crazy is that?
Amazing. Yeah, so great. And look at working on those moves now.
Dance.
And I think he's actually been even taking some jujitsu, who said lately, to help with the
martial
fitness.
arts.
And he said it was even kind of similar to pass rush moves. So we're going to get to watch what a Will Golston
hand-to-hand combat on the offensive line is vital. They often talk about whoever gets their hands on your opponent first, offensive line or defense, you're going to win. And so I love that.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see what that looks like. All right, well, now we are going to talk a little bit more about Jalen Darden. We got to meet him. We talked about those return jobs, how important they're going to be. So let's meet Jalen Darden this week's Meet the Rookies.
I definitely think the Bucs got a steal out of me. For sure, I'm a hard worker. Kind of love to soak in knowledge from other guys, and around Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Scotty Miller, those guys, to really be able to sit down and soak in the game, because I'm the young pup, so I'm definitely trying to come in and learn as much as I can. I honestly don't have a role yet. I have to go in there and kind of find my niche and find my role. The coach is always telling me just be myself, because that's what got me here. So I'm more so going to keep that approach and just turn it up a notch. For sure, I'm going to be helping on special teams, but I'm in a big veteran room, so I definitely will have to sit down and wait my turn, and I'm willing to do that. As far as getting drafted, coming from where I come from, not too many people get the opportunity, so that definitely was the biggest one. And then also being able to continue to make my dad proud, knowing that he's not here with me and I don't have a father figure to lean on right now at the time, so that's kind of just the hardest part. But, well, I've been dealing with adversity my whole life, having to move from households, my mom not being able to keep up with the bills and things of that nature. So, it's kind of, if anything, God already kind of prepared me for the situation. It's more so how I'm going to handle it now. From anything with learning it, it's just keeping my head forward and keep progressing and getting better each and every day, trying to be a better me. Honestly, he'll just be crying, just saying that I did it. He happy for me. He happy that I kept going and I never quit. It was times that I did want to quit football because of not being able to take care of my family and be able to be with my dad as much as I could. But at the end of the day, he told me to keep going, because when we start something, we don't quit. So that's more so how I just looked at it, and now I just got to keep pushing. So everything I do on the field and off the field is really for him. Definitely coming to get a hard worker, very energetic, likes to be around people, always has a smile. First one to come in the building and the last one to leave, definitely. All I can say is I'm going to give y'all 110%.
You and I were there for the biggest deficit when he was down 24-0 to Houston in the divisional round a year ago. Came back to win. In fact, won big.
Well, this is right here what dreams are made of, right? You come back in this one, this will live on the test of time forever against Brady in this situation.
He is taken down by Shaq Barrett.
Sometimes dreams become nightmares pretty quickly. This is where, I mean, literally, he has been Superman throughout his entire career. It's like now or never, though, for this team. If he can put that cape on, hit stop. It's going to be tough.
Darden's 14. He heaves it. It's knocked away, and on the deflection, it's intercepted. That is Winfield with the pick.
Defensive rookie of the year. Come on, man. He's making plays all year. Big got that. Y'all stumped.
BA used to tell us we didn't know our identity. And that's when we came up with the grave digger slang.
Grade D.
I personally kind of threw that in there. You know, I got that from NBA Youngboy. Man, that means you putting people to rest, you handling your business, and you stamping it. You standing on everything. You standing on morals and principles out there.
Grave digger. Grave digger. Grave digger.
Oh, they've got him again. Oh, what a hit. Mahomes, Chase running out of real estate, throws. Incomplete, and Tampa Bay makes another stop.
Hey, I'm so glad you did that. Oh, I had to. It was only right. Do you know he disrespected this last game? Talk call help, bad flipping and peace signing. Oh, hell. Way worth it. They got me messed up. I'm going to talk my stuff now.
We was just all huddled up. And was like, they don't got to score. They don't got to score. And Levante was just walking around telling everybody, we can end it right here. We can seal the game. We can end the game right here without a touchdown.
Here comes Mahomes. Trying to find the end zone, and no. How about that? One last indignity. Intercepted by White.
Hey, you better call the National Guard. You better call the.
Oh, no.
You better call the war.
I don't see
hey,
not one touchdown.
We just kicked their ass. They need some help.
Not one touchdown.
Hey, what I did
They need
do?
everybody.
I told
Randy Moss.
the ref.
They need-
I said, don't stop it till you see blood. You seen blood yet?
I ain't see no blood.
Oh, we gotta keep running it up.
We gotta keep
Look,
going.
We don't even keep score. We just run that up and leave.
Welcome back into Training Camp Live. Casey Phillips here with TJ Rives, and it is time to take your Facebook questions. So if you have not already submitted that, leave it in the comment section underneath the live video. First ones that popped up, we got TJ, Broderick, Chad, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other people all asking about the running back position. Who's going to be considered the starter? How does Gio Bernard change things? Does Keyshawn Vaughn get a look? All those things. So running backs, take it away.
Wow, depth galore. And of course, you've got a real camp battle with a guy that's brought in a veteran Bernard against Fournette, who's on a one-year deal. Ronald Jones is in the final year of a deal, and a rookie Keyshawn Vaughn, who played some last year and wants a chance to play more. So it's one of those camp battles where, again, you can't keep everybody. There is only one football. There are no more wishbones. I think what you really have to watch is Bernard primarily a third down back. We won't really know that till the regular season because they're not going to tip a lot of that. And how much does Keyshawn Vaughn take advantage of second half of preseason games coming up for the next 3 weeks, because he's going to get a great chance to do it. But I mean, Leonard Fournette wasn't even in this training camp a year ago and didn't come until right on the edge of the season. So he's getting all of these live reps, as you're seeing number 7 now this year. Buccaneer fans, they've gone back to the single-digit numbers, and Fournette wore 7 in high school and at LSU, but was not allowed to do it until this year in the NFL. So get your number 7 jerseys ready to go for Leonard Fournette. Playoff hero.
Yes, playoff Lenny.
Playoff Lenny.
Playoff Lenny. All right, so Paul has a great question. He said, with all the Hall of Fame talk going on this week with one of our own being inducted, it got me thinking who on our current roster may be future Hall of Famers and who you think could earn a spot in canon. And he said, of course, Brady.
Right.
Yeah, we're all going to.
Gronk is a given.
Yeah, so he brought up Mike Evans,
Yes.
AB, Sue, Devin White even. So I want to hear for you, the locks, guys like Brady, Gronk, locks.
Mike Evans right on track, number 13, you would have to think. And Ndamukong Suh, interesting case because this is his 3rd team, but now he's been, Pro Bowl many times, has now been a Super Bowl champion. So Suh I would consider like a borderline. You can make the argument for him. Devin White's got 2 years in the league. He looks great. There's potential. We got to let this develop. We got to let it marinate. It's like cooking. You got to let it marinate for a little while here to see on Devin White's overall career. But yeah, those are guys that you look at. I'll sneak you one. If he keeps playing at such a high level, give me Ali Marpet 5 years from now, and I know that's one of your faves and my faves. Give me Ali Marpet 5 years, 7 years from now. If the Bucs are continuing to play well, contend for the Super Bowl. Again, those that grade the positions, look at these guys year in and year out, and he's been outstanding the last couple of years as an inside offensive lineman. So I'll go with that name as another name to watch.
That's a good one. I like that one. And we had also had a question about the importance of having guys like Shaq and JPP as leaders for these young guys. Of what do you think they're going to need to do to bring some of these other guys along, and the expectations of them, not just in terms of their on-the-field play, but having them as leaders?
There you go. And for Joe Tryon or any other young outside rusher, JPP in particular, invaluable. 2 Super Bowl rings. Shaq Barrett, same thing now, was in Denver with Peyton Manning. Didn't play a lot, but then came here and has really blossomed. And when those guys lead by example, meeting room, film study, out on the practice field going through the reps, they don't even necessarily have to get vocal. Like we were saying earlier in the show, Rondé Barber and others, Shelton Quarles, who's still on the staff, talks about this all the time, that the culture changed when everybody realized Derek Brooks is showing up with Hardy Nickerson back in the mid-1990s at 6 o'clock in the morning before everything begins, and we have to be here to watch film. These other guys have talked about that as well, the dedication. And I know you can watch it now at home. You don't have to necessarily be at the facility. You can watch it on an iPad or whatever at home. But when you see that guy that we're watching on the screen on Training Camp Live doing it, leading by example, film room, weight room, every day, how to take care of your body throughout a season so you can play a full season. Forget about a coach telling you that. Forget about us in the media suggesting it. They watch those guys by example, so it's true.
That is true. All right, well, that is going to do it for us here on Training Camp Live. TJ, thanks so much for hanging out with us these last couple days.
I had a blast again. I'll come back if you need me, but keep rocking along on Buccaneers.com.
I love it. Thank you as always, and everybody, make sure you listen to him during the games all season on our. Look, and you already supporting the T-shirt.
Yes, 98 Rock, the home of the Bucs.
98 Rock during the
We love
games.
it.
You'll hear him, Gene Deckerhoff, Dave Moore. They do a great job. All right, we will see you on Monday. The team is off tomorrow. We'll be back here on Monday, so make sure you tune in then.